Welcome to the Finding Mojo podcast. Watch and listen to conversations about humble beginnings, struggles, and victories.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm where I am right now, because I'm kind of stubborn. So no, I gotta do this.
Character development really did start when I cosplayed. You bump into troubles when you're younger, and then you realize, oh, I did wrong.
Featuring a healthy melange of guests from different walks of life.
We're trying to find ourselves. We're trying to land our feet on the ground and be part of society. Who are we in society? How can we be useful?
When it comes to youth, I don't know, if you're like 18 years old or 21, 22 years old, just go love a person, love what you do. When you get hurt, just accept it. It's all part of growing up.
Be inspired, get creative, and find your own mojo. The Finding Mojo podcast, powered by BSA Solutions, the place where bright minds meet. A certified great place to work.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Finding Mojo podcast. This podcast is powered by your friends from BSA Solutions. We are a proud recipient of the Great Place to Work Award for 2 years now. My name is Nico. Hope everyone is well in mind and in spirit. Talking about mind, our minds, we have a very interesting topic, very sensitive, but this is something that we have to do, and we have to address this head on. We're going to be talking about mental health, all the stresses, and everything else in between, and what we can do to mitigate the mishaps that go with these situations. We have a very important guest here on the podcast. He is a licensed clinical psychologist, and he's also a psychometrician and a musician at some point in his life. Yeah, we have to talk about that also. Everyone, please help me welcome to the podcast, Abby Banuag.
Hello, my butag. Thank you for having me, Nico.
No problem, bro. Thank you so much for joining us. It's funny because when I was looking for a guest on the podcast, it's so hard because of all the availability and all the schedules that would come into play. Checking on my messenger over the weekend, I was like, Abby is online, and you posted something very important over the weekend. You actually created a list of your peers,
Yes.
your colleagues in your line of work. Mental health issues, we really have to address this because it affects your work. It affects the way you deal with your family, friends, and at some point, if you're not able to find balance, it's just gonna have a domino effect. Your life's gonna go down on a downward trajectory. We don't want that. So before we get to some of the questions, we'd like to introduce you to the rest of the podcast. So as a clinical psychologist, Abby, what are the kinds of clients that you meet on a daily basis, and from which industry?
People from different walks of life. So professionals, students, couples, or even in the special populations such as the person who use drugs or PWODs, or the person deprived of liberty, and children in conflict with the laws. Actually, that's my specialization. So,
Okay.
but yes, I do private practice, and you will be surprised that mostly of my clients, or majority, coming from the helping profession,
Okay.
such as doctors, nurses, social workers, so something like that. And also in the employees, it's more on the people who are working at home, and even VPOs.
I'm pleasantly surprised that even students have access to you, because a lot of these problems come about at a younger age. It's how they were brought up at home, maybe the community that they have. It could play a role in their mental health, as they go through life.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting that even doctors,
Yes.
they also go to psychologists. And how do these conversations go? Is it more of like the triggers at work, especially when let's say you get attached to a patient?
It's because of the emotional labor. No, and these people, or these professionals, they're more exposed to the distress situations and very traumatic situations. You remember during pandemic, while majority of us are, staying at home, these nurses and doctors, they're actually in the hospitals and attending the needs of other people. And speaking of that, while they are attending their emotional needs, they're also, attending the needs of other people. So they're
Yes.
prone into so-called burnout.
Yes, and the burnout has to have been very crazy, especially during the
Yes.
pandemic, because everyone, especially those who were hit by the virus, especially on the first few months
Yes.
or that first year,
Yep.
like everyone had to go to the hospital, everyone had to like line up, and it was depressing to see that in those really popular hospitals here in the city, cars were like lining up
Yes.
just to be able to get to the hospital, just to be attended, and the most you can do is just what, give an
Yes.
oxygen tank,
Yeah.
oxygen tank. Some were not even able to get to the hospital and given their treatment. And not only that, the lining up at the malls for the shots and
Yes.
everything, you hear a lot of stories, and I can definitely understand that you guys you were also at the thick of it.
Not only in pandemic, for example, during Marawi, our social workers will go to like in the places like giving the needs like canned goods and so on, but they're also exposed, right? In a very distress situation. So yeah, so again, they're more prone to burnout. So on the other hand, employees who are working at home, there is a blurred work and personal boundaries.
Yeah.
Compared if you're working in the office like 8 to 5, then after 5 you're done.
Right.
But most people who are actually working at home, sometimes they will end up like in 10 because they're
True.
yeah, they're more prone to like abuses of loads and so on.
Just to give you like a good idea, if you're working from home, you are attending to maybe a kid.
Yes.
Maybe you're attending to other things that need attention at home.
Yes.
But at the same time, you're making sure that all your deadlines are met at
Correct.
the office. Whereas when you're at the office, all you need to do is just work on the tasks at hand, make sure your deliverables are done on time, and then you clock out, and then that's it. All right. This one is a question that is, I think, very important because the recognition of, hey, I think there's something wrong with me. Am I thinking straight? Is this how a normal person thinks? The recognition that there is something wrong, but can be addressed. I think that's like the one of the hardest pills to swallow, especially if you have mental health issues. Now, Abby, when should an individual reach out to a clinical psychologist like yourself or any of your colleagues?
Well, Nico, based on my experience, a lot of Filipino people really don't know the answer of that question. Yes.
Yeah, that's why you're here. It's important that you're here.
Because Filipino thought that the time that you need to consult a psychologist is when the moment that you're already in the rock bottom, or if you're already experiencing distress, or if you're already have the any anxiety related disorders or even depressions. But actually, you can also consult psychologists even you're just trying to like identifying your strengths or the things that you're good at. You're actually building your coping strategies, trying to understand deeply yourself through, let's say, the self-awareness activity and so on. But I think the reason of that also is mostly of us really don't know the exact what mental health is.
Yeah.
Usually, if I have a talk, I will always do this activity. I will ask my participants to get your phones, try to like choose 3 individuals from your friends, the messengers, then ask them this question. What comes into your mind if you hear or encounter the term mental health? You will be surprised. Their answer will be like mga buang, crazy people,
Yes.
naigamay, And they will also associate solely on the depression and anxiety and so on.
Right.
But mental health is more than the absence of the mental disorders.
I think the mental disorders are the extremes already. So what you're saying is, even when you're trying to self-discover, even if you're at the onset of you trying to engage the conversation of where am I gonna go, how am I
Yes.
treating myself in the scope of work, family, and everything,
Yes.
that's already a part of mental health.
Yes. The definition of mental health, according to WHO, is a state of well-being, recognizing the things that you're good at. That's one. If you can learn well, if you can work well, if you can cope with the stresses of life, and even if you can contribute to the community, that's actually the exact definition of mental health. It's like a physical health, Nico.
Mm.
In a physical health, dili
Right.
raman na ka ng para di ta masakit. But we also strive to get the energy and strength for us to perform well.
Correct.
Same thing with mental health. Just like in a band. No, let's relate it no, sa mga banda.
Because both of us are musicians. Okay.
We just don't go to studios for us to avoid kana siyang mo play ta during our gig na dili ta mayabag.
Correct.
Or ma-out of tune. But we also go to studio for us to practice some of the things that we saw in the YouTube, and we also invest in gadgets so that we can perform well. That is mental health. So it's not all about the depression. That's the extreme side. Yeah, you're
Exactly.
correct.
So it's really the entire like well-being. That's why the stigma is, I'm not gonna go to a psychologist, I'm not gonna go to a psychiatrist because I don't think there's a problem with me. I haven't gone to a point where I'm self-harming. I haven't gone to a point where I inflict harm on others, so I should be okay.
Yeah.
So that should be the stigma that we have to erase.
You can always consult your psychologist even you're not okay. So I just want that to, make it clear.
Perfect. Now, last question. You touched a little bit about this. I can only imagine yourself, dealing with other people's issues and struggles. This can be draining. How do you de-stress?
As a psychologist, as much as...
By the way, how many years have you been as a psychologist?
Before I answer that one, licensure in the Philippines is very young. We just started, if I'm not mistaken, 2015 or 16.
What? That early?
Yes. Also, if I'm not mistaken, the number of licensed psychologists in the Philippines were just about 3,000 something. So it's very young. So I took my my first license was actually the psychometrician. So I took the psychometrician board exam 2017.
Okay.
So my license in psychology is 2023.
Wow.
Yeah, or we're very young.
Very young, very young. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the question, how do you distress?
So again, as much I value my job as a psychologist, but and it's very emotional draining.
Yes.
And I always reminded myself every time I will leave my clients or during session that there's a clear boundaries and between me and the client. And, I always remind myself that my client's journey is ultimately theirs to take. I am just here to help you to help yourself. That's one. If you're a psychologist, it should be clear to you that whatever happens to your client, ilahan na.
Okay.
You're just there to help them to help themselves. Second, I think we talk about that one. I also have my own coping strategies. I have a band. So for me, allowing myself to go back to studios and do some playing into some gigs.
Yeah.
To actually help me to, to debrief and to distress.
Right.
And also sports. By the way, it's really important. I also do or I allow myself to be active more and playing football. So
nice.
Those are the things that I usually do for me to make sure in the next client, makaingon ko nga ready ko. Mo ako madake nila.
Now, companies like us, BSA Solutions, we actually acknowledge mental health issues and create measures to help employees who struggle with it. We actually have Mind You. So we have an
Nice.
online psychologist that
Good.
anyone is able to book a schedule with, and then whatever struggles that they have, maybe at work, maybe with colleagues or what have you, or even life in general, they can actually book an appointment with
Wow,
that
nice.
online psychologist. It's something that a BSA has made open to our employees.
And I heard they're licensed.
Yes.
They're like, good job, BSA. No, they're licensed psychologists. Yeah, that's
Awesome.
good.
Now, Abby, based on your observation, we want to dumb it down for the regular Pinoy, the common Pinoy. What do you think is the mental health state of Filipinos these days?
First, we Filipinos are, we need to remind ourselves that we are a blend of East and West.
Correct.
Externally, the Western influences, you can observe it in any Filipinos externally. The way we dress,
Yes.
sa paman, the food,
Mm-hmm.
oh, music.
Yes, music, especially music. Yes,
Music.
especially
Okay.
music. Yes.
What are your influences, right?
I play alternative rock, and then most of these are like from bands outside. Yeah.
See the dances, but internally it's more on Asian, like the way we treat authorities, the way we care for others,
Correct.
right? And our families, like the relationship in the families, and that's the difference between us and the Western, because Western, they're more on the individualist. They're more
Yes.
individualist.
I agree.
Compared to Filipinos, we're more on collectivist, right? And speaking of that, one Filipino traits or values, because, there are a lot of triggers, financial, and so on and so forth. No, that's very common. That's why I really like your question. But something unique in Filipino, kini siyang gitawag nga utang na loob.
Okay.
How do you say that
Like
in English?
gratitude, that debt of gratitude. Yes,
Yeah.
debt of gratitude. There.
Debt of gratitude, right? So you can see it as a good one because it talks about our relationship with our family, the communities. But at the same time, for some people, utang na loob, it's actually triggers.
Correct.
Yeah, no, depression. It's
Correct.
somehow it's like a precipitating factor for someone.
Because at some point, when will this stop?
Yeah.
Haven't I done enough?
Okay. Practical example. If you are, let's say, preparing a wedding,
Mhm.
you've been to a lot of weddings.
Oh yes,
siguro,
of course.
right?
I host weddings too,
Okay.
so there.
Then I'm pretty sure that bride, there's a list
Yes.
of the visitors. Then you want to have like an intimate wedding. How many of you during the planning stage, I really want to have an intimate
Oh,
wedding
yes.
with my husband?
Yes,
Okay.
we're just friends.
50
and-
people.
Yes.
Then during the wedding, you already have 300 to 500
Yes.
people. Because of
balloons.
the mother, no? Ingo si mama, hey, add this one,
Yes.
this relative, because during your elementary years, she's the one who attended
Right.
your graduation because I'm doing something at work, blah, 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 blah. Any reason, then okay, I add this one, then
You add mayor. You add the.
family connections.
Yes, you'd be like, are they even part of my life, or is this just you trying to brag
Yeah.
among your
Yeah.
amigas and amigos?
Yes.
See, it's
And
weird.
that person, you should invite him because that's the one who actually helped you to talk to your the owner of the company so that they will be
That's your backer. That's your
backer.
That's your backer. That's your backer.
So that's utang na loob. Yeah, sometimes because it shows generosity at the same time, but if on the other side, if it's too extreme,
Mhm.
then it will just create pressure to that person, and again, it's a precipitating factor.
Kind of like Pinoy is being very hospitable. It's a gift and a curse
Yep.
because we are too hospitable to a fault. When we have visitors, they get the biggest slice of chicken. They get to sleep in the room, and everyone gets to sleep
Yeah,
outside the house.
we call
or
that
something
in
like that.
psychology, Nico, as hiya. I'm not really an expert. We call it psikolohiyang Pilipino. So there are actually experts. I'm not really an expert, so
Okay.
please bear with me
Okay.
in the sekuliang Filipino. But all the psychologists in the Philippines, we're trying to, understand and study the Filipino values and behavior and so on and so forth. So one is the utang na loob. We already talked about that one. The second one, I think you mentioned that one. We call it hiya. Sa Bisaya, what's that?
Uwaw.
Uwaw.
Oh.
All right. Hiya is like, what's the best example? Fiestas.
Yeah.
The plates. You're not using the plates.
Yeah, you're not using the regular plates. You're
Yeah,
using
good.
the ones that are in the cabinet.
Yeah. The special plates
the
are
special
only
plates.
for visitors.
Right.
The special, sama na, unlan, pillows,
Yes.
and habols,
The
and
curtains,
everything.
the beautiful
Curtains.
ones, they come out during
Correct.
festivals.
And sometimes, again, it's good because hospitality
Right.
and we just want to, impress and just be kind and be like, generous to
Yeah.
the visitors. But again, if that's too much, then it could be a precipitating factor
Right.
for a Filipino people.
Okay. Now,
No,
Yes.
Before you add,
yes, please.
okay, let's try to put it in a band.
Okay.
There's a gig.
Okay.
Then someone will, have you ever experienced it? You're the next, right? Can we play because my wife is,
Oh yeah.
she's in the hospital right now, and
Can we play ahead of you?
ahead of you.
Or better yet, like, bay, good job, bay. Can I borrow your chord?
Yeah,
Can I
can
borrow
I-
your guitar chord?
Oh,
Can I
yeah.
borrow your
Yeah, I
guitar?
experienced that one. A SG guitar.
Yeah.
SG Gibson guitar. Actually, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
mine. It's from our drummer.
Ah.
Then, and someone asked me during the gig, "Can I borrow your guitar?" Then it's the SG, like a Batman SG
Yeah, the
guitar.
correct.
You know that. Then it was during 2004.
Uh-huh.
Then
Okay.
then because of Hia, all right, okay, it's okay. But deep inside,
Don't ever make sure you take care of the guitar.
the worst thing,
Uh-huh.
that pick
Uh-huh.
is the steel one.
Oh.
Then
Oh
Yeah.
man.
so that's Hia.
Okay. Abby, what are the triggers? Let's break it down. We've talked about mental health issues and everything, but for Pinoy's mental health issues, what are some of the like very clear triggers?
I think we already mentioned that one, but also I want also to emphasize the financial stress. Actually, financial stress is one of the major concern of any Filipinos. In the Philippines, there are a lot of like job insecurities, right?
Correct.
And JOs, job orders, employees, and with that, it can lead to anxiety and burnout. And same thing, family and societal expectations.
Oh, that too. That too. Especially like if you're a family of doctors and you're the odd one out, you want to do something else.
Yes.
That's pressure right there. Another thing is, for example, if you're expected to have ace all your exams and flying colors
Yes.
and everything,
Yes.
and then you don't meet the expectations of
Right.
the family, that's also something that's hard to like bear.
Or the simpler one, getting a jobs or getting a stable job, getting married.
Yes, true.
Then after, what's
Of course,
next?
what wedding,
Yeah.
have kids, all
yes, have a kids. So,
True.
ngano man kurura iro inyong
True. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I think that's
And,
very
and
familiar.
you know why? And you know why? Because
You should have children.
instead of having a family of your own, why are you focusing on dogs, or why are you focusing on cats? It could be like a health issue. It could be a problem that they actually really do have.
Yes.
If they're not able to conceive, or there's something wrong with the male, then that can really like affect your mental health, especially if both of you really want to have a kid.
Yeah,
That's a trigger too.
Sometimes there are some relatives, no, they will tell you, that's the reason why you're not having a children right now, because of that dog. Yeah, I have a client. who actually have that kind of experience. The stressors are actually the relatives, and they're young and they still don't want to have a children right now because of they want to. That's the difference of our
like they want to
generation. Right?
enjoy. They want to
Yeah.
enjoy the
Yeah.
the youth, or just being with each other for the meantime.
Correct.
Here's another like interesting stressor. Even at work or even anywhere, you're like, "Nambok lagi ka day." You're gaining weight. What's wrong? And when you gain weight, they always say like it's something wrong. Does it always have to be something wrong? Why? What if the person really is wanting to like gain some more pounds? And what if that person really is enjoying the fact that they're gaining pounds? Or what if that person is really struggling to lose the weight?
Yes.
And you like maybe just when you got in the office today, that's gonna piss you off the entire day. That's it. Right?
Toxic work environment.
See,
So it's
and the funny thing is, it's not even supposed to be a toxic work environment. It was just a toxic person.
yeah.
See, you know what I mean? The stresses are there, but then how we cope with the stresses and how we deal with the stresses is, I think, the
Correct.
most important thing.
Yeah.
That's why, like you said, it's important that we have to fortify how we think here.
Yes.
How our ability to discern, ability to
Reflect.
prepare ourselves, reflect on whatever stimuli is out there, right? It's really crazy. I'm just, it just, it's just funny, but you know, even the littlest things, man, this is just funny. Anyway, this is a more serious note though,
Okay.
Abby, and I'm glad that you're here because this is also one of the questions I wanted to throw your way. How do clinical psychologists like yourself address this issue? You're seeing this a lot in social media. Suicide rates are on an uptick now. You see a lot of people just self-harm, lose their lives for the smallest reasons, and for reasons that I think could have been like solved, or there's a way out of it, but it's not taking their lives. That's one. Or if you see it on social media, the alarming rate of like criminal cases now, people just killing their own relatives. It doesn't really make sense to me. Again, this is a very sensitive topic. I know some of you may tune out, but if you can, please give it a moment because we really have to address these issues.
Yes. Sorry, Nick.
Yes.
If any one of you, if ma-trigger,
Mhm.
do not hesitate to consult psychologists for any mental health professional, psychiatrists. Again, as what Nico said, we need to talk about these things. Very sensitive for us to, to learn on how to prevent and, how to deal with these people,
Yeah.
or as we call the wounded people. Okay?
And
Yeah.
and the thing is, there was a huge difference before because without social media then, all these news were on
Yeah.
all on newspapers or on TV. So they were able to like not show the videos,
Yep.
not show the pictures. But now what's happening is at the onset of crimes, at the onset of all these happening, the cell phone is there.
Yes.
It's easy to take videos or do a live stream and then have everyone see all your views. And it's saddening because sometimes the first instinct for Pinoys when there are accidents, when there are incidents, when there are crimes being committed,
Mhm.
is to pull out their cell phone for views.
Yes.
That to me is the most alarming thing. Now, how do you guys, clinical psychologists like yourself, address this?
Welcome to the Finding Mojo podcast. Watch and listen to conversations about humble beginnings, struggles, and victories.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm where I am right now, because I'm kind of stubborn. So like, no, I gotta do this. Like,
Character development really did start when I cosplayed. You bump into troubles when you're younger, and then you realize, oh, I did wrong.
Featuring a healthy melange of guests from different walks of life.
We're trying to find ourselves. We're trying to land our feet on the ground and be part of society. Who are we in society? How can we be useful?
When it comes to youth, I don't know, if you're like 18 years old or 21, 22 years old, just go love a person, love what you do. When you get hurt, just accept it. It's all part of growing up.
Be inspired, get creative, and find your own mojo. The Finding Mojo podcast, powered by BSA Solutions, the place where bright minds meet. A certified great place to work.